Village people. Cool. What is Studio D?
So
Start with
Studio
that.
D, thank you for asking. Studio D is part of Demand Media. Demand Media, some of you might have heard about, owns and operates websites such as livestrong.com, ehow.com. So we reach 1 in 3 Americans every month. So it's 130 million uniques. And so across that publisher network, we gain a lot of insights about what people are reading, what they're looking for, what works, what doesn't work. Studio D makes all of that expertise available to third-party brands. So we work with some of the biggest brands such as Samsung, Procter & Gamble, any brand you can think of. We work with them to create their content and draft content strategies for them and create all of the content and produce it for them.
What is like the most popular eHow article?
Because
I love eHow.
Are you serious? Thank you. No, it's.
I take all of my life goals.
I actually know what the most popular article is.
What is it?
What are the 10 hottest peppers in the world?
Oh,
that's the single most popular article on eHow.
I don't know. I'd be curious.
I don't know. You weren't asking that yourself? Okay.
Like I said with Brian before, I like to start with failures. Can you talk a little bit just about sort of brands that haven't done, what you're talking about, which is sort of making your content work harder, sort of a brand that isn't able to do it right or hasn't done it right, and sort of what really goes wrong there?
Yeah, I think one thing that we see that brands could do a little bit of a better job is really think more like publishers and don't treat all traffic the same. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is if you're a content publisher and you're a brand talking about, here we are at the Brand Summit, you're becoming a publisher. You get traffic on your website, but not all of the traffic is really working for you. And I think thinking more like a publisher in that regard really means looking at what's the demographics that's coming onto my site. Is it the demographic that I want on my site? And most importantly, what is it that I want them to do on my site? Now they're coming onto my site, and what is it that I, as a brand, would want them to do? Is it, am I just counting clicks? Or am I looking at, converting them into shoppers, email subscribers? What's the secondary goal here? And that could really help brands out tremendously in determining if their content is really working for them. And so the reason why I chose the title is because I see a lot of brands doing that for their display ads, for their display campaigns, really having solid metrics behind what they want to accomplish, looking at the conversion rates. And so I feel strongly that brands could do a better job with that.
Do you feel like it's evolved a little bit sort of over the years that sort of brands are starting to look for more?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have a slide about that. So when we talk about thinking like a publisher, when we talk about really not treating all traffic the same, it really starts with, and it sounds so generic, it starts with what are your goals, right? So if you create content, you should really know where is it across the customer life cycle. And that means if you're a product, you're launching a product, you're running a campaign, and you really want people to find it, you want to drive organic traffic onto your website. Either it's on your blog or your campaign webpage. There's a certain type of content you need in order to create authenticity, authority, and get that SEO traffic. Or are you a little bit further down that life cycle? Do you want people to consider and guide them towards purchase? So is it content that is really geared towards engagement? And then as they hopefully convert it into a shopper or an avid reader or an email subscriber, are you really using this audience as an advocate for your brand? Are you creating advocacy? So it's really, we believe it's really about matching your KPIs to the customer life cycle. And accordingly looking at your content, if it's delivering the right audience to your site, if it's delivering the right type of traffic to your site.
Does every brand have to do all three, or can some brands be okay with just sort of getting to engagement and that's what works for them?
I think it really depends. I think, go back. In a perfect sense, let's just assume you're launching a product. You want to create awareness around it. You want traffic on your site. But of course, you want to keep those people engaged. You want those users engaged on your site, and you want to ultimately turn them into advocates. So I think every brand should look at those 3 steps. And at one point or another, depending on where they are at the customer life cycle, they want to use those KPIs and want to convert those visitors. And so I just matched a couple of metrics to those KPIs, because I really like not just talking about high-level KPIs and just sticking to buzzwords. I would really like to dig a little bit deeper and say, if we talk about that secondary action that we want the audience to take, so we get them onto our site, and now we want to see, are they really doing what I want them to do? Are they really completing an action on my site? Which is a good indicator if you're getting the right audience onto your site. It's a good indicator of, are you thinking like a publisher? So I've just put a couple of sample metrics on there. When you think about, I really want to drive awareness, I want to drive organic traffic to my site, are you getting that organic traffic? Are you seeing the search rankings improving? And do you see the volumes in searches? Same with engagement. I mean, it's really about, my favorite for engagement is conversion. Because in the end, in the perfect world, you would want someone to come onto your site, and if you're an e-commerce brand, convert into a shopper. If you're less of an e-commerce website, you want them to convert into email subscribers and really foster that relationship. And then really build advocacy on social media. So shares, likes, pins, followers. So I strongly feel that by looking at these metrics, you have an indicator if your content is really working for you, if the traffic that you're getting is really the traffic that brings your business forward. I mean, we've heard about ROI of content, and I think that's a really good first step to think of your content and think of the traffic that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. And ROI is sort of a big theme on the challenge boards as well. We're going to talk about that later. But can you who does it well? So, I can give you an example of where a brand wasn't doing it as well, and they were pivoting a little bit, and they saw tremendous results. So we had one of our customers, big nationwide retailers for shoes, and they've been creating content, but they really wanted to know if that content is working for them. So what we did is we went into their Google Analytics account. We looked at the audience that's on their blog, because that was kind of their content destination. And we looked at the audience that was actually on their shopping site. So we compared who's on your blog and who's actually buying on your site. And so what we saw was a little bit of a discrepancy. So people that converted better on their main site, people that were actually shopping, were slightly older, Generation X. I know we all talk about millennials. In their case, it was actually people that were shopping on their site were Generation X, 35 to 45. And the audience that they were getting on their blog was skewed towards millennials, which is great because, of course, you want to expose your brand to millennials and want them to consider your brand once they're maybe have a little bit more purchasing power. But when we were asked to look into how they can increase conversions and really increase revenue, one recommendation we made is you have this disconnect between the actual shopping audience and the audience on your blog. How about you find topics that uniquely resonate with a slightly older audience, Generation X, and try to increase traffic from that audience segment onto your blog because we see them converting better. And that's what we did for them, and that's we created content that was really geared towards that audience while not excluding anyone else. It was just a little bit more of a focus on Gen X. And we saw the conversion increasing and saw revenue per article, per content piece increasing. So we could actually match a revenue number to each piece of content that they published later, and we saw that uptick in hard money that they were earning. What kind of content did Gen X want that they weren't providing? Do you have an
So
example?
yeah, I mean, again, so what we figured out is that they were pretty good at reaching the millennials through social media, so we saw a lot of referral traffic from social channels coming onto their blog. So, but not a lot of really organic traffic coming onto their blog from the Gen X audience. So first we saw, we looked at this and said, okay, we want to drive awareness, we want to drive organic traffic. So let's create more long-form content, because that's the first step. If you are looking to create and build organic traffic, you need a little bit more long-form content, of course, with visuals embedded, but still you need that word count and keyword count in there. And we took it from there, and we just said, okay, based on the publisher insights that we have, what are some of the things that Gen X, as it relates to shoes, lifestyle, fashion, what is it that they're uniquely interested in, and what can we put out there for them and get them onto the blog?
Cool, awesome. We have about a minute for questions, and while we get a mic, I have one for you, which
Sure.
is, if someone sort of is like above, these three, and sort of is a really expert publisher, I mean, is there something that they should be doing? Are there like certain things they could be doing beyond advocacy, or is that the holy grail?
So no, I think every brand plays in those three levels. It's just about how experienced you are. I think as the more content you publish, the more of a publisher yourself become. You see what's working, what's not working. And right now we see at the current state of content marketing that we're at is that brands are still pretty much running topics, running content pieces that are pretty much aligned with their core business of what they're in, what they're selling. craft food recipes is a good example. And one thing that we like to say is you don't know what you don't know. Meaning, if you have never published content around a certain topic, if you've never ventured out in certain fields, you don't really know if it's working. So I think that's kind of for really experienced publishers, that's the next frontier to figure out what's the white space, the new kind of topics that I as a brand can own, stand out, and really be different from the competition, because as we all know, content marketing is getting really crowded these days.
Yeah, absolutely, which is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Cool. We have 30 seconds for questions if anyone's got any. No? Cool. Thank you so much,
Great.
Stefan, for your time.
Thank you.